what's up and welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to be giving a review for the slasher film In a Violent Nature. Now this is a film about a mute killer who is supernatural, by the way, who returns from the grave to seek out like this locket that was taken from his grave basically. And he targets like anybody who kind of gets in his way, and he targets like a group of like young, like I guess you could say teenagers, mostly throughout the film, because one of them possessed like his locket, or you can say this gold chain with like this medallion like hanging on it. Because when the film does open, you can see like the gold like chain hanging over like this like pole, and it turns out when one of the people take it, one of the victims take it, that's when he rises from the grave and he just goes on like this like killing spree. Now this is directed by Chris Nash, and this is like I think a film like from IFC Films, I think that's what it's called, IMC. And it was made for Shudder, like, so it's from like Shudder, and eventually it will be on the Shudder like streaming platform, which I don't have, by the way. But this is also released theatrically, and I did get to see it in the theaters because I saw the trailer for it and I'm like, whoa, and I've been hearing about it, so I said, I was gonna go ahead and check it on now because it does look like pretty like cool. It's very like reminiscent of like Jason, like a Friday the 13th film. It really just like what it killed himself really does resemble Jason, so that's one of the reasons why it kind of drew me to want to check it out. So I went and saw it, and it turns out I think it was kind of like overhyped. I think it's just like a decent film. I wasn't really like feeling it too much because the way the film goes, it's like you constantly see like the point of view of the killer himself, and he's known as Johnny. So we already know that his name is like Johnny. So like Johnny's like on his killing spree, and like I say, one of the things I think was kind of cool about it is you actually do get to see like really focusing on him, like when he's like stalking or like after his victims, and he's like supernatural, by the way, because they have trouble like you could shoot him and he falls down and he'll get back up, and he's very similar to like Jason, but the camera is constantly like on him from like, I guess you could say, like a third person perspective, like when he's just walking, because you can kind of see it in the trailers. Now I must admit, I did think that was kind of cool, and he really does look like Jason at times, especially like the Jason Voorhees from like part 7. He really kind of reminds me of that Jason, kind of mixed with like part 6 Jason too. But at times, like when it's doing that, even though it's kind of cool, it like drags on for like so long. It's just like really focused on him just walking. It's like taking like a long time. I do believe that the director, I guess Chris Nash or whoever it was, they just took too long, like focused on him as he's like doing his stalking. Like the camera's just on him like just too long, and it's like too much of that. But like I said, when it first was doing it, it did look kind of cool because you could see all the different areas. You could see it like showcased in the trailer, all the different areas that he's like stalking through when he's after his victims. But like I said, it just carries on like just too long. Now I must admit, the film does have like some gruesome kills in it that I thought were kind of pretty decent. Like there was like this one kill, like one of the girls that he killed in the film. The way he killed, I don't think I've ever seen like a kill that gruesome. Well, I ain't gonna say that gruesome, but like done in that manner. The way he killed her, I thought that was kind of cool. And I don't want to spoil the film because it is like a straight up like slasher film, and you could tell that it's not really like Oscar worthy. So that's why I say it's kind of hard to kind of decide how to really choose to rate this film, because you can't expect this to be like a good, well acted or well directed film, because it's like a slasher film, and like a lot of the slasher films don't really be like on high level. But it was still like okay, and it has like a slow burn type feeling to the film. It moves like at a slow type pace. And at times, and there's no music in the film at all. If you hear any music, it's like from a song that's playing, or like some of the characters are singing a song. And I want to touch on the characters, but they're just like they're just there for like to be killed, because like the way they talk and so on and everything like that, like the story with them. Now one of the things I think is pretty cool about it, like there's a moment kind of at the beginning of the film where like the characters are at like a campfire and they explain the story of like Johnny, but it seems like he's like a myth. They talk about how he was like a mentally like a disabled kid who was like I guess you could say like he fell from like this fire tower or something like that, and he had died. And he was also like a collector too, or something like that. But apparently like they believe that he does return from like the dead and so on. It's kind of reminiscent like other like horror tales where they give you like a description of like the antagonist or the villain in the film. So I thought those moments like that were kind of decent. And that's the only time that the characters seemed to be like pretty interesting, because they didn't have any like character development throughout the film. And so, and then, like a lot of the acting scenes, like some of the acting I thought was just like terrible, like in the film. But it is still just like a slasher film. Now, like I say, Johnny himself, he does remind you like Jason a lot. There's like a lot of Friday the 13th like elements throughout the film, like sprinkled throughout the film. Even kind of towards the end, it's like the ending I thought was like weird too. It was just like just off. But like I said, I just leave it at that. I'm not gonna spoil the film, but it does have like a lot of Friday the 13th type elements throughout the film, because like Johnny himself, I'm going to hit to say these kind of things. He doesn't talk, he's like mute, you know, and he just walks around. He even at one point is found like a mask that he wears throughout the film. He even gets him like a weapon that he decides to use and start killing his victims with. And like I said, the killings are like very brutal, and some of those can be like dull too, like they take too long. Like when he's killing a person, he takes it too long to kill him, because he'll chop him up and all this kind of stuff, and it's like it just carries on like for too long. And another thing I think would have helped the film is if it did have like a musical theme like throughout the film. There's like no music at all. It's just like going, you know, you just follow him constantly throughout the film as he's like stalking his victims. But there isn't any like tense like music or anything like that. And I believe that's one of the things that kind of ruined the film. And I think it's like cool that they went in this territory, like the director Chris Nash, because it is like something that, if you think about it, it is kind of innovative. Like he's trying like different things. So I do think it was kind of cool that he did go in that direction with this particular film. Now I do think like the look of the film is pretty cool, because it is like, I ain't gonna say claustrophobic, but I like the look of the area that they're in. Like just like in Canada, like Ontario, I think, like the wilderness, like the forests and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty cool. And like I said, it really does feel like a Friday the 13th from like a Jason Voorhees film. But in A Violent Nature, I thought it was just okay. Like I said, it's like a slow paced type film, and like I mentioned before, like the moments where it's just focusing on Johnny as he's walking, you know, stalking his victims. I felt that kind of stuff. Even though it's cool at first, it just carried on too much. You constantly see him like walking to go all these different areas, and it was just like too much of that. And you can see it in the trailers because it looks creepy and cool, but like I said, it was just like too much of it in the film. There's some music playing, so it's like really like no you don't really feel scared or tense or anything like that. It's like you don't really fear like Johnny, you know what I'm saying? But in the end, I think it's still like a decent slasher film if you're after that kind of thing. So I'm giving In A Violent Nature, and I saw this in the theater too. I'm giving this a C-. And like I said, I'll definitely recommend it for like slasher type films, because it does really borrow like from those particular films. It does, you know, it gives you that nice feeling like of the old school like slasher films from like the 80s and so on. It really does. Like I said, it feels like a Jason Voorhees like film. But in the end, I'm giving this a C-, and this is my review for In A Violent Nature. Please leave a comment and subscribe too as well.